Hello and welcome to the Brothers Slim. We are back with another Aeon Trespass update. I thought there might be one this week. So this is update 72, a very short update. Online store sold out in hours, Trickster, Lawgiver, the creative process revisited, KF makes landfall, Kadmos. As usual, wild titles for their updates. One quick note, I have caught the con crud post-Gen Con, so apologies if my voice sounds a little squiggly and wiggly, but we'll get into it. Hey guys and gals, today's update is going to be on the shorter side, well, by ITU standards, but I think the what justifies it. Let's get right into it, starting with overall ITU things. Kingdoms Forlorn reaches the US. Yes, KF is here. As of earlier this week, copies of the game started reaching our US backers. This time, to facilitate speed up fulfillment, we're using Fulfillrite and not one but two US hubs, one for the East and one for the West. As for Europe and the rest of the world, our shipments should reach our hub, Green Logistics, next week. All in all, we're expecting a much smoother fulfillment than last time. Thank you to everyone who gave us constructive feedback on that. Good stuff, good stuff. More KF news today and in the coming weeks, but for that, head over to the KF page. I'm assuming if there's a KF update today, it's probably just about shipping, in which I'm probably not going to cover it. So go take a look at that if need be. But I'll take a look just in case too. We shall see. Onwards. Ya boy here, the Nietzschen online store sold out in hours. Yeah, I covered this. I covered the store sale in a video, I think yesterday, was it? As at time of recording. And yeah, pretty much everything sold out except the Nietzschen, I think, is one of the only things, that in the t-shirt. Demand was strong this one. The Delphian Titans disappeared within mere hours, and the Nosoi Dragons soon followed. There's still, let me check, 9 legendary Nietzschens left. I suspect this happened because at first the mini was showing an old Nietzschen render from 2018 and not the swanky new one. I think Marcin loves the Nietzschen and this old sculpt. Thank you to everyone who participated, and to everyone who didn't get the chance to nab one of the Titans, we hear you. We always try to measure demand and our fulfillment capabilities before we commit to a sale. As you remember last time, when the original run sold out, we added an unnumbered reprise edition of the minis. However, we of course didn't have those minis in stock and had to order their production. What followed was a protracted fulfillment period that I'm neither proud of nor want to repeat. Good stuff. Talked about that in the video I made yesterday. I think they might have overcompensated a little bit, but this is also, I think, only their third sale, so they're still figuring that out. And that makes sense. Please also note that due to the nature of the production process of these, as well as the quality check that follows, the lead up to production time is massive. We usually commission them months in advance, and we can't easily change course. We do want everyone who wants the minis to be able to get them. We have been suggested a few potential solutions, and we will be exploring them in the future. However, note that due to the above, no solution will be perfect, and we will never have an infinite stock of every item. So this is the OG sculpt versus the new one. I mean, yeah, the new one's better, but ultimately, if you ask me, it's still the same kind of dude who I don't personally love. But it's cool that they got to do this, and it's fun. Like, the fact that they can do this with the store is sweet. A picture is worth 1,000 words, a newsletter reprints. This article was originally published in the July edition of the ITU newsletter. It resonated with a lot of you backers and fans to shed some light on the Aeon Trespass world, and it promised a follow-up. So it is reprinted here for continuity. If you read it, you can skip the last part, where we show the final result. Cool, I don't think I read this newsletter, so I'm glad to have it here. More or less, this column doesn't adhere to strict word count guidelines. I like to paint a vivid, poignant picture, and for that, you sometimes have to go outside the lines or leave some spaces blank. So, AI art. Well, not art. To make art, you have to have intent. The large language models that pump out content at blinding speeds have no consciousness, no soul. If you want to be poetic about it, they have no will, so they can't have intent. When they create, and I use the word create loosely here, they mathematically collage the most probable picture. They're giant prediction machines, basically. Fun little nod to Cycle 5. So, AI content. I don't like it. I don't like it even beyond the supernumerary fingers and the obvious mistakes and hallucinations. Those will get better in time, I gather. No, I don't like it, because it's meaningless. A bland, faded copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, copied without any understanding of the original. In fact, without any conscious thought whatsoever. In truth, I despise it. I know why this thing came to be, and I know why the economic reasons why more and more people use it. As an artist first and businessman far second, I despise it even more. So, AI slop. This is a term I like, an apt term, a lazy shortcut for short-term gains and long-term culture contamination. I know when I see it. It is an average of all actual art, after all. It will always look distinctly middle of the road, and I tend to hate on it. I think it's constructive hate. I skip anything that has a whiff of AI slop in the actual product, although maybe, one day soon, I won't have this option. Everything will be slop. Now you may ask, if the image is good enough, then what's the big deal? If I can't tell the difference, many can't or don't care, then what's the actual difference? Glad you asked. The answer is intent. Intentless art is empty calories, meaningless, pointless waste of your time that does not enrich you or any person in society. On the contrary, it impoverishes you by serving you content regurgitated by 1,000 digital mouths. Would you eat a meal served like that? No. Then why would you feed your soul with slop? Okay, that's it. This op-ed escalated quickly. Let me de-escalate. Our fans always ask us about our processes. Let me guide you through one. What goes into creating a single non-essential, meaning not a book cover or story/doom card illustration? Quick aside, I really, really like that. I praise Marcin for his writing all the time. The newsletter piece that he does is always really interesting. It always strikes me as like a very personal take on various things going on. But AI is a very hot topic. AI is all over the place, and that is extremely well worded and is a very powerful statement. I really like that. Onwards, though. Let's take a look at the work in progress for the Borean Workshop. This is an illustration from the upcoming Sins of Heracles summer core game. Work with an illustration starts with mechanical intent. Back to intent once again. Just a fun little writing piece that he's using there of some repetition. What is it for? It's a workshop of one of the long-gone bronze people who inhabited the world of Aeon Trespass in the previous age. It will serve the young Heracleides as a place where they can craft new weapons, armor, and support gear. Once the mechanical intent is established, I write a detailed brief for our art team. I try to be precise, so my intent is conveyed, but not too descriptive, so there is space for their creative input. I mention the most important details, and I attach for art reference, if any is applicable. In this case, it's a workshop, where the bronze people hone their trades. Here, Boreans prepared the birds they hunted, plucked out feathers for headdresses and other decorations, drained their blood for sky sacrifice, separated meat from bone and beak for food and weapon crafting. So, we also need a bit of the background of the Boreans. An old people of giants who lived in the mountains, revered the sky and sun, and hunted equally giant birds. The important things for me are the setting, mountains, elongated architecture, tower that reflects their yearning for the sky, and the bird/feather motif. I also want a top-down perspective to drive home the point we're in the mountains, at top of the world, and to differentiate it from the other two workshops of summer. Then the artist comes back with a few rough concepts. We choose one, but we're not really fully satisfied with either. It's not Borean enough. So here's examples of concepts. These concepts all look really similar. This might be the concept done from different angles, actually. My art team comes back with the additional mood boards for the Borean culture elements they want to influence the illustration. We've got a separate creative design process for each culture and nation. This information comes from that. We also do a few additional mock-ups. So a whole bunch of art references you can see there. Cultural stuff, very cool. We choose one to be the central reference and continue work. At this point, we also come up with the elaborate process with which the Boreans drain the birds for sacrifice. It is as gruesome as it is functional. Gravity does most of the work. We get back to a working render. And there we go. Things coming along. Very cool. We have notes. We want certain cultural elements to stand out more, and we think some of the elements of the illustration, although cool, serve no purpose. They should have a purpose. It's a workshop. Some more little assets and little knickknacks. Good stuff, good stuff. And then there we are. Very cool. I like seeing their process too. I don't know how much I share this on this channel, but I used to work in the publishing space, and part of that is asking illustrators to make illustrations for books, be it cover design, kids' books, which are full of illustrations, and so forth. And the system that we used was a little bit convoluted because it relied on text, and stuff like this is just so much more simpler and visual, which is good. But yeah, really cool seeing the process. Finally, we get back to an almost finished render, yet still we have notes, mostly because they were not addressed before. Yeah, it happens. Illustrators are amazing, but got to check and make sure that everything that they do is satisfactory. You can sum up our notes with one word: stairs. How did the Boreans reach the top dais? Maybe they had wooden ladders, which rotted away over the ages, but no. The structure is too elaborate at this point. This is no mere watchtower. It's a sacred place. It would have had stairs. So stairs it needs. Once again, fun little references. And also, I love the contrast of beautiful freaking illustration and MS Paint. that might not be the tools they use, but that's just what it reminds you of. At this point, we wait. We'll have the final piece of the next ATO update. By the next ATO update. Maybe we'll have more notes, but I think we're almost done. Tell me, do you think AI can replace this? Or will it pump out a soulless, meaningless simulacrum devoid of logic and reason and love? I hate AI slop, and so should you. And now, the conclusion. Read in Majel Rodenberry's voice. That's someone I'm not familiar with. Very cool. And once again, just a fun little writing tool of bringing it back to exactly how we started writing. I freaking love Marston's writing. It's so good. Okay, so then that is the finished product, which looks really, really cool. And again, we'll scroll up really quick to kind of see where it started just with that. Very fun. Awesome seeing a little bit of inside look into the process, for sure. Bonus Borean item. So this is some of the stuff that we're looking forward to in Cycle 1. It looks almost like a plastic sprue with a wing. Fun stuff. Curious what that'll be. Looks like a dagger, 2 daggers, and a torch. Very, very interesting. Summer Titan Trickster. Yes, you read that right. Cosmatos was not supposed to have a Titan equivalent, but I couldn't help myself. So here it is, a new Titan with a new sheet and a new miniature, completely free with every copy of the Last Days of Summer core game. Last Days of Summer indeed. Sadly, we are almost there right now, getting into August. The Trickster is a very fun design, drawing on the sensibilities of the enemy it's based on. It's physically weak, but it more than makes up with that with mobility. The advanced reflex is a lifesaver. And flexibility, that means I think as a reaction you can move 2 spaces away, which is very strong. And flexibility. Versatile is a new Kratos table keyword and token that allows you to decide whether it is a break or an opening at the time of attack. That's really, really strong. Oh, and the switcheroo ability is tons of tactical fun. Honestly, I like this art more than the Trickster, than the Cosmatos art, personally. That's really cool. Some weapons, so that's what's got in the art. This looks like art for the Doom of Pythagoras. Mini also looks cool. Notice they've changed the sculpt on it again, but the sculpt does look really good. So again, ITU is so good at listening to feedback and when things are misses, even if sometimes they don't necessarily fully agree with the feedback at the time, usually they do take it to heart. Just example here, like I've mentioned this a whole bunch, but in Sins of Heracles, the sculpts just looked a little bit too flat and not detailed enough. And I don't know if they were just trying to showcase it, like what it'll actually look like, rather than making a far more detailed render than what the mini is going to look like. But it didn't end up selling the product well, and they've pivoted in recent updates too. So I think they're continuing to kind of change that. And like, yeah, the actual physical mini here probably isn't going to look exactly as detailed as this is, but it will look good. And this is much more indicative of what it will look like rather than like the initial minis that they had in there in the crowdfunding campaign. But yeah, this guy looks sweet. There's a lot of really cool motion. He's got a very similar body build to me, which I'm here for. And his hair is awesome. So cool. Very, very cool. I don't think we get to see any actual stats or anything, and that is too small for me to read. I don't have my glasses on today. So onwards we go. New Doom of Pythagoras expansion Titan, Lawgiver. Continuing with the free content extravaganza, I've added a new Titan to the Doom of Pythagoras expansion. Or would you prefer we called it Pythagoras Doom? The Lawgiver is a companion piece to the Doom, but also to ATO's Logic Breaker. For Cycle 1/Summer, it's pretty strong. The added auto break and a red diet Rage 4+ really makes a difference, especially when it's perfectly capable of wielding 3-handed weapons. The new Cleanse token will help its allies deal with the despair that Doom of Pythagoras is dishing out. Well, they will help with all Bane tokens, which I came to call all the negative primordial effects, like Ambrosia, Despair. Okay. Oh, that's fun. So just a specific phrase for all these different tokens. And its various strange mobility abilities should compensate for the rather pitiful speed of 3. This makes actually one of my favorite new Titan designs. Yeah, that looks like a pretty sweet Titan to me. A little less like natural flow than the previous one, but the big Haymaker Fist is really, really neat. Speed of 3 is wild. That's extremely slow. So I'm curious about what those abilities are. Okay, yep, Sculpt looks sick. That looks awesome to me. Very, very cool. So Lawgiver, also a fun name. Kadmos, the juries still are out. During the Kickstarter, I've mentioned that Sins of Heracles will deal with more forms of awakening than just god forms. The primary way the Heracles awaken will be through Eidolons. You've also seen that there will be god forms in summer, albeit Heracles using god forms will gain hubris. We'll talk about hubris some other time. Then there's Heroes mode. This is what I had to say at the time. We're not quite done yet. Eidolons are something you earn, just like you do with god forms in Odyssey. But in 12 Sins of Heracles, your characters can also awaken in a different way by channeling the spirit of one of the great heroes of legend. That's called Heroes mode. Heroes mode is the inverse of the other types of awakenings, which you see go big, transform into larger, grander beings. In hero mode, your Heracleides reverts to their human form, but retains the mighty power of a Titan. Heroes mode could be described as becoming a glass cannon. You don't necessarily gain more durability, but you do gain more offensive power, as well as an additional action. Of course, the peculiarities of your hero mode depend on which hero you channel. So here's how it's going. Kadmos is in, and his art is done. It's a very fun awakening that allows you to go ham on the Primordial and channel your inner One Punch Man. You'll find his awakening in Last Days of Summer somewhere, possibly hidden. Cool. Last Days of... I'm assuming that's just from the time of year, but I'm curious if there's anything else there, aside from just like the Last Days of Summer being a thing in media and all that. However, that's what we agreed upon back then. One card, no mini. We made the mini anyway, and it's awesome, and it channels everything this type of awakening is all about. Here it is. That's a pretty freaking sweet mini. So we have a gribbly, handy snake eel creature. So there are a lot of hands on it, so I'm curious if there's anything tied into other handsy beings that we're familiar with. No hands on those little limbs, though. Very, very interesting. And then One Punch Man for sure, flying through. Oh, actually scooting right through the critter. Yep, critter. I've been saying that too much lately, I think. At this point, the Kadmos miniature is not included in the Last Days of Summer. It's a big mini, and just like the Trickster and Lawgiver, it was never budgeted in. However, I will try to make the business math work out on this one. And if I can't, Kadmos will land in the Eidolon box, along with the rest of the unannounced stuff. And that's the update over. Go home. Yeah, so a short update by IT standards. It's not even. I saw that in my inbox and was like, oh, like maybe I won't even look at it, but maybe I should just in case. And yeah, that was an exciting one with lots and lots of cool stuff and not short by a long shot. Yeah, freaking hell. IT is great. That's just, they're just so cool. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on the Brother Slim, and ta-ta for now. Bye.